What's going on, all you gamers? Here we are back with another Outriders video, and today I'm going to be showcasing this brand new build guide for the Acari pyromancer set. Now what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of survivability in your set. I'm going to try and make it so you get through those CT15s and so that you just make it all the way to the end now that we've had that little nerf or adjustment and fix, should I say, not nerf, to emergency stance. So if you want to make your way through CT15s, then stay tuned. That's coming up next. Welcome back, all you guys and girls. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, and of course a lot more footage from me from Welcome back, all you guys and girls. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, and of course a lot more Outriders on the way. Then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon? I'll bring you hints, tips, builds, and just some fun gameplay. But for today, I'm here to show you this build, and it's a really nice and a very strong one for staying alive. Now, since the emergency stance has been completely fixed, we have no actual way of completely staying alive now. It is a bit of a struggle sometimes, but it is still possible. Now, with everything as it is at the moment, you can still die. Nothing is quite as strong as the emergency stance was currently, but I've tried to put a build together that will keep you alive and still be able to run CT15 golds. However, it will put a little bit of time on it. You won't be clearing them quite as fast, but you should be making it to the end with a little bit of skill and with a little bit of judgment. Full disclosure, I have only run one boomtan, and I must admit I didn't quite hit gold on it. I think I was about 40 seconds out. So if you're trying to hit gold on boomtan, this might not be the build for you unless you get it down a little bit better than I've got it at the moment. In case, you may well be able to make it even on that. But for the others, chem plant, etc., you will be completely fine. The first time I ran chem plant, I made it, and I've made some adjustments to the build to actually make it a little bit faster now. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to chuck on a little bit of footage, and this was the first actual time of me using this kind of skill tree and this actual skill set, so it is a little bit slower and I didn't have everything perfect. So I've swapped a few things out, I've changed a few guns over, and I've got the run to about, I think it was about 9 minutes 30 seconds I want to say the last time I did it, but for this one it was just over the 10 minutes mark on chem plant. It felt nice, it was really good run, and I've been able to do quite a lot of runs after that. So I'll show you the footage and you can decide if this is the build for you.
Had a functioning power cell.
Now, as you can see, we have got quite a bit of anomaly, but not as much as normal for a pyro. Just over here, our health is through the roof. 27k is massive. It is really nice to have a little bit of health pool now, just for a bit of uh-oh moment and being able to regen it. And finally, creme de la creme, the reason we've got this, 123k armor, and that's a standard. That is absolutely amazing. It goes up, I think it's over 200k, and it's well worth putting on. It is well worth putting on there, as it just gives you a lot of mitigate damage. But when we use our skills, that will go over 200k, and it will mean that we are absolutely kind of in a little bit more of a safer place now that we haven't got that emergency stance, and it will give us a lot more survivability. With this, it is not unkillable. I have died a few times. You need to make sure that you're doing things kind of properly, and by that I just mean you've got to make sure that you've got heat waves on things. If you're completely out of heat waves, if you're running around like a lemon, in all builds now you will probably wipe unless you're using a devastator, which seems to be pretty much the way forward for never dying at the moment. But honestly, I've ran a lot of CT15s with this, and I've been pretty cushy on almost all of them unless I've been very unlucky. Right, so first up, and we've got just over here the Death Shield shotgun. Just hands down an amazing weapon, almost definitely the best one in the game because of its tier 3 mod, Fortress. Receive up to 43% damage, bonus based on your armor. You'll be getting 43% at endgame because your armor will be over, I think it's 35,000, activates to 43%. Underneath that, I've put on Shadow Comet. Just hands down one of the best ad clearers and just big area effect ones in the game. Shots cool down a comet, dealing 210,000 damage to enemies within a 3.5 meter radius with a 3-second cooldown. Just a great mod, really good for ad clearing, and obviously with everything else going on, all the buffs, all of the vulnerables, everything, it just means they're going to take an absolute abundance of damage, and it clears so good. Just down here, and I've made a slight adjustment, I've changed this over and I've put on the Juggler. What we've got is Scrap Grenade and Ravenous Locust. Now, honestly, you are going to be using this one up here 90% of the time, probably more than that. If you need a secondary boomstick, you're going to chuck over to that just to launch a Scrap Grenade. However, the main thing you're going to be using this is if you want to weaken anything. If you're worried about dying to a Broodmother or any really large ad or boss, hit them with this first. They'll be taking a little bit of tick damage, they'll get the big hit from the Scrap Grenade, and of course the main thing, everything around them will be hit with weakness. This will just make it so that you should definitely survive on those boss encounters. Now thirdly, the only reason I'm using this is because what I like to do is either before or after, usually for myself I do it first now, I have my handgun on the boss, I pretty much tap it once and he's vulnerable. It just means you're going to do an abundance more damage and you melt them like butter straight afterwards. What you do to that afterwards, you'd switch to this, hit them with weakness, and then go straight back to your Death Shield and just go ham on everything. Right, so again we're going to be using the 3-piece Acari set because we want that anomaly power. We want to be able to clear stuff, we want to be hitting hard, and we just want that anomaly bonus. Now obviously with the 3-piece set, just so you know in case you don't already, every time you hit an ad it will go up by 50% anomaly power. This means that your anomaly power is boosted through the roof and you'll be able to get over 500k anomaly power when you're pretty much boosted up max. I think the max I've ever seen is probably about over 700k, so you'll definitely boost it to over 500 and you'll be hitting like a truck. Now obviously with the helmet of the Acari, and this one right here gives you the anomaly power you're after. The mods on it are Fire Tsunami, Heatwave, increases the width of the firewall. You're going to be using that because you want your tick regen. Every tick of that means that you're getting a bit of regen on your health, and it means you've captured everything in firewall, and it means they're all taking more damage from some of the mods on our actual other armour. Also we've got Captain Hunter. Really good, it makes it feasible to take out those elites and bosses. Without this you would really struggle. Next up, and we've got this, and I have changed this up completely. If you have a little look, this is the chest of the Acari, and it's got Rejuvenation and Tidal Wave on it. Now Rejuvenation I honestly think is one of the better mods in the game now. Since the kind of fix to emergency stance, I have been using this a lot. I think it's one of the best mods in the game. Chuck it in your build, it gives you a bit of survivability and it also gives you a lot of other stuff. If you have a look, you've got a bit of firepower and a bit of anomaly power and a bit more survivability because it boosts your armor so much. And with this we are on near enough full health regen always, so we will constantly be getting all of that. Next up wave, Heatwave. The skill can be activated one more time before triggering the cooldown. No need to tell you why we want that, we need to get 3 in our whole build. Just down here, and we've got the waistcloth of the acari, so basically the legs. Again, that comes with the anomaly power we're after. We've got skills life leech. All of these come with skills life leech, which is what we're after, and the cooldown reduction is amazing as well. It's come with anomaly echo, so that means you get a little bit of firepower, but most of all we're after the anomaly power. Down the bottom I've put heatwave. Damaged enemies take 25% more damage for 8 seconds. Absolutely amazing. Stack them up, especially if you've got a boss, hit them with all 3, so they're taking 75% extra damage from everything you do. That's stacked with the 43% from the actual death shield and with all of your other buffs, and once you've applied vulnerable, just means you're going to take them out really ridiculously fast. Just down here, and I've got the clairvoyant gloves. Now this has got the exact thing I want. This will probably be a nigh on most of my builds, as it is just perfect. The only thing that's bad of it, it's got a really low armor score, but to be perfectly honest, that is not the be all and end all. So it comes with anomaly, cooldown reduction and status power. All of those in most times is pretty much perfect. Now what I've put on it, and I actually really recommend this now, especially with what we've put with the other one with the rejuvenation, and that is damage absorber. Increases your armor by 52,659 and resistance by 10%. And bullet kindling, deal 20% more damage against enemies afflicted by burn. Next up, and we've got the ceremonial boots. These are pretty good. They're almost perfect, but they're not exactly perfect. Now they come with anomaly power, skills life leech, and the last one, healing received. If you could, you would really rather have cooldown or status power, but cooldown would probably be best in slot, to be perfectly honest. Now with this I've got ride the wave. Heat wave, this skill can be activated one more time before triggering the cooldown. This will give us our 3 uses of that skill, and it would just mean that we've got a lot of regen in our build, and also we'll be able to hit everything really hard, get a lot of damage on them, and plus we'll be able to apply 75% extra damage because we're actually stacking up that 25%. Just down the bottom, one of my favourite actual mods in the game currently, Untamed Power. Using skills deals 40,440 damage to enemies within 5 meter radius around you. The damage is equal to 30% of your anomaly power, and that's the thing you've got to realise, right down the bottom there, to your anomaly power. So basically, if your anomaly power goes through the roof, so does this skill. I have another video out recently that I put up saying how good this is. I've seen it go over 250, 260, probably over 300k in an area effect. It is ridiculous good, and that's before all of the other buffs and debuffs that are applied to everything. Put this in your build, you won't regret it. Right, so for the skills, the main one, like I said, if you can get the cooldown in that last piece, this will be even better. What you want to do is be able to get as much cooldown as possible, because the main thing is you want those heat waves. So make sure something is always on fire, because that way you will be buffed, you will have an absolute abundance of regen. It will just be absolutely amazing, it really will. Make sure you are using this constantly to make sure you've got that abundance of extra armor, to make sure you've got that abundance of extra regen and tick damage and health coming back in. Just over here, and feed the flames. The main reason we're using this is not even for its health, which it can be good as a last kind of result. If you're running away or if you're struggling, tap that, you'll get your health back. But the main reason we got this is just to proc the extra anomaly power, which we'll go over in the skill tree in a moment. And finally, I've put on this the eruption. Now currently, I tried phaser beam. I wanted to put that on because it's got such a low cooldown. I died a lot. You would have to mod into this more. I didn't find that it worked quite as good at the moment. I'd probably have to make a specific build around it, because being kind of in place for a little while doesn't work the best, especially if you're on those maps with snipers. But yeah, eruption, the only time you're going to use this is whenever you need to nuke either a big area, a big elite, or for a boss battle. It still does an absolute abundance of damage, even though we've not gone the explosive route because of how much anomaly we're going to be packing with our skills. Next up, we've got the skill tree. Now this one's a little bit strange, I must admit, but it does work. So what we're going for, we're going all the way to the end. We're trying to give ourselves survivability, a lot of health regen, very good skill cooldown, and a lot of health. And we've also got, from going up here, a lot of extra anomaly power. Increased max health. Just down here we've got our skill cooldown, and obviously we want that for the actual heat wave. More health and more skill cooldown on everything. Now I've gone this top tree, we're trying to get an absolute abundance of armour. This definitely helps. If you think you can get away with it, go down here. But I must admit, I've been finding for the moment, because we're doing this as a survivable build, this one seems to be the best way forward. Next up, and we've gone for more health. Then we're going up here, the moment burn ends on an enemy, inflict ash status. Can be good, but I must admit we're not really doing it for that. The main thing we're doing it for is to get all the way up the top. So increase your weapon damage by 10% against marked enemies. Again, not bad, not what we're here for. We're here for this one. Activating your immobilize skills increases your anomaly power by 45% for 10 seconds. Your anomaly power goes through the roof. Once you've stacked it up with the Acari heatwaves, once you've procced this first, it really is good. Just make sure that you're not proccing feed the flames like after the heatwaves. Make sure you're proccing it first, then going on to your heatwaves for the extra damage. Back down to the middle, and we're going up here, and we're getting the extra damage to anomaly and our weapon. Just over here, more health. Obviously we're taking all the health nodes, so we might as well pick this up, because then we're just going to have all of the anomaly power, and that's 2.5 for each, meaning if I've counted it right, it's about 12.5%. Next up, and we're going down here, burn afflicted on enemies lasts 20% longer. Anytime we can pick these up, it's really nice. Obviously at the start we went to the top path because we want the survivability, but anytime you can pick them up, because we're going for the kind of flame effect and leaving it on with no overheat skill, this is really good. Next up, and we've got more health. Increase your skill leech, because if we could pick them all up we would, but we kind of can't, I must admit. If you want to swap this one for skill leech, so if you felt you need a little bit more regen, you would. I've been finding this works fine, so I've just got this one. Next up is this one. Activate and ignite skills increases your armor by 45% for 10 seconds. Just down here, double skill leech when under 30% of max health for 10 seconds. Now the reason we've got that is because we've tried to smash as much armor on our character as we can, meaning we're going to have an abundance of mitigate damage. I think we're at almost 85% mitigate damage when everything is kind of propped and everything is up, and it just means we're not going to get hit anywhere near as hard, especially when you're putting vulnerable on things to kill them fast, and especially when you've managed to weaken them. Back down here, and we've got fuel for the embers, double sleech when under 30% of max health. Just over here, 15% more damage to any burnt enemies. Everything's on fire, everything's receiving that constantly, really good. And again, we've managed to pick this up because, like I said, we want to be able to make sure that we can spam those heat waves whenever possible. Finally, we've got this one, and it's magma elemental. Activate and ignite skills increases your armor piercing by 45% and resistance piercing by 45% for 10 seconds. Really good, really worthwhile getting this. It just means that you're going to absolutely be able to melt them with your skills and go through everything like butter. Right, so hopefully that's covered everything. What I'll quickly show you is just kind of how we're boosting ourselves. So I've had to change to Ashclad just because if there's nothing here to hit with Feed the Flames I won't be able to show you. But obviously as soon as we use the heat waves and as soon as we've used our Feed the Flames, because we've used those, because of our skill tree, now if you have a little look, the anomaly power is through the roof and the armor power is through the roof. 184 meaning 70% physical damage reduction. And just over here 204,000, and obviously that will be boosted up significantly when you start hitting those enemies because you'll be boosted by the Acari set. Now also, if I show you that 184,000 is not our max because we haven't, where is it, just down there, we haven't applied that as well. You get roughly, I think it's around about 250 or 240, something along those lines for your armor value, and it just means that you've got about 85% mitigate damage for that physical damage up there. It's really nice, I really like it, and you've got the 10% resist, so it just means you've got a little bit of resist in your build, meaning that hopefully you won't die to those area effects. Right, so hopefully that's everything. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll try it and let me know what you think. Now, like I said, it is a survivable build, so you won't be running anything quite as fast if you were doing those speed runs, but it should be a nice survivable one at the moment to get you through those CT14s and 15s and still get gold for pretty much everything. I'm still working on getting it for the boomtown, but I think with a bit of practice and learning where the spawns are properly, I very well could do. As always, guys and girls, take care. I'll see you on the next day.